Good afternoon. Thank you, Danish, for inviting. And I'm sorry my English is a little bit poor, but I tried to explain our research. These pictures I made with Gábor Kerner, and idea was Gábor's, and the area, Szeged region, is mine. The title of our presentation is the Great Szeged Region, as Danish said, traditional architecture from a new perspective. And it was an Interreg project between Hungary and Serbia, one cross-border project in 2018 and 2019. And our research focused on built heritage, architectural heritage of villages in Great Szeged region. It's tangible heritage, and also in milieu in which our grandparents lived and great-grandparents, and it's intangible heritage. And area is Great Szeged region. It's here. This map is map of Habsburg monarchy, and this Great Szeged region is here in southern part of monarchy. Now one part of this area is in Hungary. It's this part. One big part is in Serbia. This is here in Vojvodina, Bačka and Banat. And one part is in Romania, here also Banat, but we don't make researches in Romania because this project was just between Hungary and Serbia. The Great Szeged region consists of the city of Szeged and mostly the settlements located south from Szeged. And these settlements established after the Ottoman era in 18th and 19th centuries. And what is interesting that one city, Szeged, connect these settlements, and these settlements share a common tradition and have a same ethnographic picture today also, and dialect are also the same. I also speak this dialect with my parents. And the people were tobacco farmers, and here can we say this tobacco cultivation. And what was our methodology? We made research of architectural heritage, folk architecture in this part and Szeged region, and after that make guidelines for designers and architects. We design in which way design two houses to fit in street scape and settlement scape of this Great Szeged region. As Dana said, this methodology it's not unique. It's made by Kós Károly also. Yesterday we have a presentation about his work, and then later 2004 I think Mária Szilágyi made also an architectural guide about Cork rural heritage, and András Krizsán, who is also here, made for Balaton Highland design guide in 2014, and our work is also something similar to this methodology. This is from András' books. And what was the aim of our research? To to record a traditional image of these settlements, and also to motivate architects and designers to make modern houses, or to reconstruct old houses, but use the lessons of our grandparents. What are the characteristics of this Szeged region and the villages of this Szeged region? We made researches in Serbia in 76 villages, but our colleagues from Szeged made also researches in Hungary, on-site researches in 52 villages in Hungary. And what we recorded there, what are the characteristics of this Szeged region, the houses of Szeged region. This part from 18th century to 1960s. You can see the same concept, the same proportion. Just houses become a little bit bigger, like here, but the concept is same. And after that, in 60s, came the cube houses. You can see here. Other proportion, but something similar height, one floor houses. But then in the 70s and 80s, in today also came this one floor or two floor houses, and these houses destroyed the settlement's scape. But interesting that in these villages the settlement structure is saved, and this is something interesting for me. Here are archetypes of the houses in Great Szeged region. You can see three types of houses, but the same concept. And what is interesting here in pictures, how here this vernacular tympanon made of wood, and that was characteristic for Great Szeged region. And what is opportunity, how can we design a new houses to fit in street scape of these settlements? This is one opportunity in case we don't have a house in port. Then we can design a new house with old proportion and with details of characteristic of traditional houses, or we can save the old buildings, the old house, and reconstructed it, and make changes in farm buildings, maybe. And what we can do with farm buildings, which function we can give to farm buildings. Maybe can we garage door here put, or here. And what we recorded in these villages during our researches, the archetypes of houses, the traditional settlement structure, which is saved in many cases, farming structures and farm building, the last fragments of tobacco cultivation, and it was something typical for Great Szeged region, and it's saved today also. The process of transformation, the transformation process which had begun but was halted by economic and political events, mainly in Serbia. The will to live and the irreversible destruction in some places, tragic side of transformation, and the restoration of some buildings that can serve as example for other restoration. This is the archetype of house. I show the other picture. The proportion of typical houses of Great Szeged region, the traditional settlement structures, and the streetscape, farming buildings, fragments of tobacco cultivation, the process of transformation, changing the function of these houses, or the transformation process which had begun, like here, and destroyed the streetscape, but not finished, and the destruction in some places, like this. Or a tragic side of transformation. It's a center of one village in Szeged region in Banat. And tragic side of transformation, we have recorded many similar examples. And some buildings that can serve as example for restoration and reuse of all the houses. And what we not recorded, positive settlement development trends, urban planning instruments, and a good example for contemporary buildings with proportion or elements of the architecture in Great Szeged region. And how can we build new buildings without losing the existing values, the values of built heritage or architectural heritage, and we can these new buildings fit into existing streetscape. The most important rules of fit are fit with nature, landscape and traditional proportion, past settlement structure and its proportions, existing building, mainly with building traditional building of Great Szeged region, not with cube buildings and other new buildings, and with detail. This is a streetscape in 1950s, and this is today in 2019. It is Gábor make research in this settlement. And we can find also the traditional streetscape today. And it's also one streetscape with cube house. Also can fit in all the street structure. But we can see example like this. Traditional architecture and two-floor houses from 80s, and with front of garden. It was not typical for this Szeged region, and the street line or streetscape show this picture. And this is one picture from this line. cube house, one floor house, traditional house, and two floor house. Also here is the front garden, here also, and here we can see also a front garden. And why is important to design buildings with characteristic the traditional architecture or with proportion of traditional architecture? Because of this picture that we save our identity. And this guideline you can see here in front our guideline, and this guideline is the mirror of the architectural heritage, mirror of the folk architecture in Great Szeged region, and also get guidelines for design new buildings in these settlements.